All right, welcome in, guys. Farzin Vasugian here with you for another episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. And today it is a loss. We are recapping Kansas City's first loss of the season. 9-1 on the season. 9-1, unable to break a franchise record of a 10-0 start, unable to get that done. Maybe one of these days, this season is not that season for that to happen. Still, number one in the AFC, but not a good showing today. Chiefs lose by 9 points. Probably should have been 10 points with that PAT miss, but woulda, shoulda, coulda, still a loss in this one at the end of the day. Some positives, some negatives to take from this. Obviously, more negatives than positives in this game. Chiefs obviously have a lot to work on. A lot of things to go over on the offensive side. Not the worst loss in the world. I mean, this is still a Chiefs football team that is in position to win the number one seed. But a lot of things do need to improve in order for the Chiefs to rebound, get back in the win column, and go on a win streak. Today was kind of an important day for Kansas City. Obviously, you were doing a little bit of scoreboard watching with the Baltimore and Pittsburgh game. And in that one, Pittsburgh came away with a 2-point win, and the Chiefs lose to Buffalo. So right now, they are looking to stay ahead with the number one seed. Don't need help right now. You still have control of your own destiny. That's a very important thing in this sport. So as long as the Chiefs can stay atop the AFC, that's the most important part. Hey, I already put the link below. So if you guys want to call in with your thoughts on today's game, I want to hear from you guys. And let me know if the link works or not, because if not, you guys got to let me know. That way I can make sure we get that fixed, because I do want you guys to call in. I know there are going to be a lot of opinions. Listen, it's hard to win 16 in a row. They won 15 in a row dating back to last season. They started 9-0. They're the last team to drop a football game. I'm seeing some of the comments here. Some people not happy. It's okay. You're not going to win them all. I said many times, the Chiefs are not going to go undefeated this season. This was one of those games that gave you that possibility of dropping your first game of the season. And listen, I said many times, I do not want to go into the playoffs undefeated. And listen, even if the Chiefs were undefeated going into the Christmas game, they would have started their backups anyway. So there's no way you go undefeated with your backups 2 or 3 weeks in a row. But I think this is one of those situations where if you're Kansas City, you gotta learn from these mistakes, and this is the time to learn from those mistakes. This is one of those games. Obviously, had a playoff atmosphere in this one. Not a big deal. I mean, this is obviously Buffalo Super Bowl. Let's be honest. And by the way, I know there's a huge deal always made between these two teams and how they play. Buffalo wins the regular season almost every time. Do they not? What are they, 4-1 against the Chiefs in the regular season, and the Chiefs are 3-0 on 2 occasions in the past. The same year the Bills beat the Chiefs in the regular season, the Chiefs end up avenging that, winning in the postseason. The 13-2 game, the Bills trounced the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football that year in the regular season, and then last year with the Kadarius Toney offside, and then the Chiefs end up getting it back on the road in the playoffs. First ever road playoff game for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the Mahomes era. So listen, this is not the end of the world. I'm seeing some teams. I'm sure there are some sarcastic comments here, people being facetious. I would imagine there are a couple of people who are freaking out, losing their minds. It's okay. Still some positives to take from this, but got to be better for sure. Yeah, Robert, I do agree with you. Mahomes and Kelsey, they did not look like themselves in this game. Got to be much better. Why is the link not working? Is the link working for you guys? Because I don't see anyone calling in, and I know there are a lot of people watching that want to call in with their thoughts. So let me post it one more time. Hopefully, there, that should do it. I'll pin that comment right there. That should be the one that works for you guys. But again, look, Kansas City, this is still a team that they're the team to beat. Fortunately, everyone else had 2 losses in the AFC, at least 2 losses coming into this week. So you still have that lead in the AFC, but margin for error just got much smaller because Buffalo, they have the advantage right now. They have the tiebreaker. So that Christmas Day game later on in the season, which is still a little over a month away, that okay, so you guys see the link, but does it work though? That's what I'm asking. That game on Christmas does become much more important. And by the way, a lot of you guys said Baltimore was going to win. I was hoping Baltimore would win, but I told you guys Pittsburgh's going to win. That defense is for real. They won with 6 field goals. And listen, Baltimore only had 1 touchdown. It's not like they played an amazing game, but that Pittsburgh team is for real. So Kansas City, and I think that Pittsburgh defense far better than the Buffalo defense. So Kansas City's got to step it up later on in the season here. I know everyone is going to have a lot of different opinions, but yeah, the connection with Mahomes to Hopkins and Kelce, that was certainly off today. Kelce did not have a catch in the first half. He finished with just a couple of catches in this one. It was 2 catches for 8 yards. DeAndre Hopkins got going a little bit. He had 1 catch for 5 yards in the first half, and then he had 2 more catches for 24 yards in the second half. So not a lot of involvement from him. Xavier Worthy got off to a great start, 4 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. Didn't see Xavier Worthy catch a pass the rest of the way. That to me is interesting. I mean, this is your first round pick here. And in mid-November, this is a guy who should be getting more involved with your offense. Here's the thing with the Chiefs, and you listen, I know the end of the game, it was out of reach already, but here's my biggest question. Why is it on some of these situations, whether it's 3rd and long or 3rd and short, when the Chiefs call up a play, Mahomes isn't getting anyone open down the field? And even on a 3rd and short situation, and they showed it on the replay, so you don't need to wait for the all 22 to discuss it. You've got guys who are running short routes, but no one's getting open here. And with the speed that this team possesses, you're not able to get those guys open. Because the thing about Andy Reid, everyone's always said the reason Travis Kelce gets open all the time is because of Andy Reid. Well, where is that today with Xavier Worthy? Where is that with McCole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster, Justin Watson, guys who do have that good speed? Noah Gray, I mean, he's been getting involved, got much more involved in this one than most games. 4 catches, 23 yards, a pair of touchdowns, his first multi-touchdown game of his NFL career. But why is it that this Chiefs team unable to get something going with their offense when they really need it the most? The Chiefs did get a touchdown, but they got it after they were trailing. The Chiefs defense, I thought the Chiefs defense played great. They held the Bills to 16 points in the first half, and they got 14 points in the second half. No points at all in the third quarter. Obviously a defensive showdown in the third quarter, but Kansas City offensively, they had opportunities. The Chiefs forced a 3 and out. I can't remember if it was a 3 and out or just a very short drive, but they forced 2 punts on the first 2 drives Buffalo had in the second half, and the Chiefs offense, they did not capitalize on that. They did not take advantage of that. You have to take advantage when your defense is forcing these. What did I say at the halftime live stream? For those of you who watched, I said Kansas City's defense needs to come up with a takeaway, and then the offense needs to capitalize on it. Well, the takeaway didn't happen. But if you don't get the takeaway, get the next best thing, and that is a stop. Force a punt. That's exactly what the Chiefs did in this game here. Just looking at Buffalo here, obviously Josh Allen had that nice 26-yard run. I don't know what it was with this Chiefs defense, and it was very uncharacteristic of Steve Spagnuolo and this Chiefs defense. They just kept giving Josh Allen lanes to run. As far as third downs go, the Buffalo Bills were 5 of 8 on third down in the second half. You're not winning football games by allowing that high of a conversion rate on third down in the second half. You'll never you'll never win a game doing that unless your offense is scoring a touchdown on every single drive. And unfortunately for the Chiefs, they only had a touchdown once in the second half off of how many drives? Let me just catch that real quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 drives, including the final drive the Chiefs had. 5 plays resulted in an interception. Seemed like they were getting Samaje Perine finally involved. Too little, too late, though. Down by 9, and the Bills come away with that interception on a 4th down play, and the Bills go home with the win, 32-21. I think one big factor you got to look at, Mahomes threw an interception on the second play of the game, and Buffalo cashed in quickly with a touchdown there. Look, Mahomes has been doing this a lot this year where you commit these kinds of mistakes, silly mistakes that you shouldn't make. And on top of that, you're looking at an error that early in the game. I mean, that's never going to help. That is never going to help. I feel like Patrick Mahomes has been making those mistakes that no elite quarterback should ever make. That's been the issue in this game for Patrick Mahomes, really all season. Another issue with Patrick Mahomes, he's allowing a lot of defensive linemen tip these passes. You can't be doing that. That's not something we saw a lot of Mahomes allow in years past, but this year we're getting a lot of that. Some of that's just turning into bad passes. Some of it's turning into interceptions. You can't allow those kinds of things to happen. And Andy Reid's got to find a reason as to why that's happening and figure out what is the solution to this. How can we work around this? I don't know. All right, let's go to the lines right now. I see Bob is waiting. He's been waiting for a while here. Bob, hitting the lead off as usual. What's going on, Bob?
What's up, Fars? Hey, man, it was a pretty good football game. I don't know that the Chiefs ever got into any kind of rhythm, really. They tried to run the ball. They got away from running the ball. They was doing razzle-dazzles and with our young boy there at the beginning. And we just quit doing things, I mean, that type of a ball, you got to attack that defense, man. Run it down their throat, man. You got to pound the ball, wear them down, and then you got to be able to mix it up. We had some pretty good catches there. We had Watson made a nice catch. So there's some things here they got to learn. They got to clean it up. Our defense is kind of wasn't in place in some places, so maybe they're seeing some thing on film that they're seeing the Chiefs giving it up, and it looks like that they still had to come down here and dethrone us. So, and I don't get too much excited when it's the Bills and they beat you in regular season. It's pretty custom. We're getting pretty accustomed to used to it,
Yeah, 4-1 in the regular season in favor of the Bills, and 3-0 in the postseason in favor of the Chiefs. So yeah, I'm good with that too.
And are we going to learn something from this? That's the question, and I just don't think we had a real good running game at all. And I think that sets up, the offense on here. And Patty's got to get out of that pocket and be more creative. I don't think he's what I call a straight out pocket passer, man. You got to turn him loose, man.
I got to push back a little bit, Bob, because I feel like the offensive tackles, and I get it, maybe step up in the pocket, but defenses have done a really good job of kind of trapping Mahomes in that pocket there, not allowing him to escape. And I feel like the offensive tackles bear that responsibility. I feel like that's really, listen, on how many times did Mahomes get sacked in this game? 2 times? Yeah, 2 times. Both of them were in the first half. Both of them were on third down plays where Mahomes is not finding anyone. And when you can't get anyone open, usually Mahomes will turn to a corner and run, but those offensive tackles are letting the defense kind of swarm in and trap him inside there. I think that's a problem.
I totally agree. And we've had that problem all year, and it still hasn't been addressed. So going into the season, we had that problem. So, we're still 1 loss. We got to be positive. They'll come back. I still think the Steelers teams is a real dangerous team.
I agree.
Their best football. We got them yet to come. We got Houston yet to come. Our schedule does not relax, man. And then our division's getting better. You got Denver rolled today. You got San Diego or LA, whatever you want to call them. They're playing well, So things are clicking, man. And being here with 1 loss with the kind of schedule we've looked at, I'm really proud to say I'm a Chief, fan, because they've showed us some really good football on the move this year with injuries and everything. So I'll get off here, listen to the guests. Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate you, Bob. Thanks for calling in. Listen, you made a couple of points there we haven't even touched on yet. I do want to talk. A couple of people mentioned the QB spy there. Yeah, I don't understand. That was a surprise to me. The other thing was, and we haven't touched on this yet, Christopher, I do see your comment about Nazeeh Johnson. That's a good point. We do need to get into that. TJ, I see your comment as well about the secondary being torched because that was not good. That was not good. But as far as the running game goes, Kareem Hunt, he had 14 rushes for 60 yards. Okay, that's not a bad stat line there. I don't think Kareem Hunt caught a pass or was even targeted in this game. So this is actually Kareem Hunt's first time not getting 20 touches. Now, as far as the running game goes, and Bob was kind of just mentioning it a moment ago, didn't really utilize the running game as much as they should have. Patrick Mahomes didn't even scramble in this game, which goes back to my point. You're seeing a lot of defensive linemen and pass rushers do a really good job of surrounding Mahomes and basically creating a wall, not allowing him to get through. And that ends up turning into an interception, unfortunately, we've seen, or a sack. You hear a lot of coaches say, take the sack, don't throw the interception. We'll have the punter send it away. But I'm looking at the rushing stat line right now, and I didn't realize this during the game. I mean, I'm not majorly surprised because when you're trailing, you kind of have to abandon the running game. But Kareem Hunt, he had 14 carries for 60 yards. The Chiefs as a team ran the ball 17 times. Carson Steele had a first down run. Xavier Worthy on the first play of the game. They had a nice little trickery moment there, not making it too obvious for once with Xavier Worthy. McCole Hardman also had a nice 9-yard run. I mean, the Chiefs are utilizing the speed, but they're not doing it as often as I'd like for them to do it. But the thing that just sticks out to me is 17 rushes and 14 of them to Kareem Hunt. I thought the Chiefs were starting to get Samaje Perine more involved. It wasn't until really the final drive of the game. Look, like I said, Kareem Hunt, it's his first game since the first time he's been with the Chiefs, the first game of the season he's been with the Chiefs, the Chargers game, where he did not get 20 touches in a game. Whether the Chiefs, whether Kareem Hunt, whether Andy Reid admits it or not, this is a guy that's starting to feel some burnout here. I know he was on the couch. It's not like he was tired going through training camp and everything. That can actually kind of work against you sometimes. And I think when you give the ball to the same guy so many times, and again, not saying Kareem Hunt's not capable of it, but there is some burnout that'll come with it, especially when you're putting pressure on a guy to lift your offense. I know Kareem Hunt's provided that nice jolt for this offense, but that's you're putting too much pressure on the guy now. I'm just looking at the rushing stats again. 17 runs, 14 of them from Kareem Hunt. I know Isaiah Pacheco, he came back to the practice field this week, didn't play in this game, but he is expected to be back. A lot of reports over the weekend that Isaiah Pacheco is expected to come back for the Carolina Panthers game next week. And that's going to be week 12. So it's about time the Chiefs get him back because Kareem Hunt really does need that right now. Kareem Hunt's been part of a good 1-2 punch before with him and Nick Chubb, and now it's going to be Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. Listen, that can really help both guys. Kareem Hunt can take a little bit of a backseat. Isaiah Pacheco, he's been out of action for 2 months now, so there's a chance for him to maybe get involved a bit. They can kind of split the carries there, maybe 10 to 15 each guy, and let the Chiefs use the rushing attack against a weak Carolina team. We'll obviously worry about that later on in the week, but this is a team that didn't step up when they needed to the most. I mean, when the Bills went up by 9 points before the last touchdown Josh Allen had, that's when the Chiefs offense woke up. You don't want the Chiefs offense to wake up when it's in a situation where it's too little too late. The Chiefs have got to be better than that and play better football for 4 quarters, and we're not seeing it. I know a lot of people say the Chiefs are a better fourth quarter team. Well, yeah, they are. They certainly were much better moving the football and scoring in the fourth quarter, only 1 score, but better than the last quarter, which was no points at all. Same thing for Buffalo, though, no points at all for them in that third quarter, though towards the end of the third quarter, that's when Buffalo got going and they capped out that drive that carried over to the fourth quarter with the touchdown there. I just think this offense right now is missing a killer instinct type of mentality. But I'm also trying to think back to last year too for a moment, and not that anyone wants to talk about last year because that comes to sugarcoating, and at the end of the day, last year totally is irrelevant at the end of the day. But I do want to say this, because when you look at the Chiefs and what they've done this year compared to last year. This time last year, they were 7-3. They were 7-3. Now they're 9-1. So you're certainly in a much better spot today than you were 365 days ago. And by the way, last year, even with a 7-3, it was 7-3. I mean, that's a great record to have for any football team. But a lot of people still felt like that was a very vulnerable Chiefs team that anyone could beat them. Anyone can go out there, beat them, and dethrone them, and we would have seen another team go in the Super Bowl. Not the case. The Chiefs obviously flipped the switch when they needed to, but I mean, that was a team that had to show a lot of improvement with its offense from the regular season into the postseason, which they did, but still had issues. This offense is certainly better than the one from last year. So I think there are reasons, the reason I'm bringing up last year, there are reasons to still be optimistic about this Chiefs team. Yeah, Lauren says, if you're going to lose, let it be during the regular season, not the playoffs. Yeah, and you know, I said all year long, because people were starting to talk about going undefeated. I don't know. I just felt like if you went undefeated, that would have, I truly do believe that was going to, I just feel like the Chiefs were going to have some overconfidence going into the postseason. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't see how it would not have been the case. By the way, lines are open right now. So if you guys want to call in, please click that link, turn on your audio, your video, and let's chat it up. Otherwise, I'll continue to read more comments here. Connor had a few costly penalties. That third down penalty right there, yeah, you're right, Rick. That turned things around. And he also had a really bad tackle, or missed tackle rather, in the first quarter that allowed the Bills to march down the field and get their first touchdown of the game. I just feel like the defense, listen, I think the defense did what it could up until that Shamari Connor penalty there. Still, I mean, I still think they did what they could, but Kansas City, the offense has to capitalize and be better in those situations. Got to be much better. Got to be much better. Yeah, Antoinette says they're wearing Kareem Hunt out. I agree. Whether the Chiefs want to admit it or not, you need Isaiah Pacheco back really badly right now. Listen, you need a lot of guys back. But we know realistically, Rashee Rice is not coming back. Hollywood Brown, it sounds like he's expected to return. We just don't know exactly when. I'm still not really, I don't have a lot of confidence in the Chiefs training staff. I think we've got a pattern of this for several years now of these kinds of situations and how they've handled these kinds of injuries. Yeah, I agree with you, Jared. That interception, that was a game changer. And you can't do that. Listen, I guess it'd be a little different if it happened in the middle of a game, but for it to happen that early, the second play of the game, that can really set the tone for a game. I mean, the Chiefs still were able to get the lead a couple of times in this game, but Kansas City just didn't. I mean, they could not catch up in the second half. Buffalo never looked back in the second half of this football game. And that was pretty frustrating because Kansas City, I mean, I think their offense is better than this, but they didn't show it. Lamar, or Lamore, I hope I said your name right, on one of those attempts. Are we drafting offensive tackle in the first round? Yes, but I hope we're not talking about the draft right now. I mean, yes, offensive tackle is going to be an offseason need for sure, and that's for Brett Veach and the scouts to figure out right now and try to put together a plan as to how they're going to find that offensive tackle. But I mean, if you're a Chiefs fan, I don't think that's something we should be discussing too much. If you're a Jets fan, yeah, discuss that all you want. The Jets season is over. I just don't understand how bad that Jets team is. I really don't. But that's a Jets for you. Yeah, we don't need to be discussing the draft right now. Certainly don't. Spencer Schrader. I mean, there were some concerns, by the way, during pregame that he kept hitting the crossbar a couple of times. But I guess it wasn't really an issue. The Chiefs never attempted a field goal. They only needed PATs from Spencer Schrader. But I that 4th and 2 play, man. I mean, Josh Allen had that fake to his left. I think I could be wrong, but I think the plan the entire time was for Allen to run it, and he just needed to give it time to develop. But man, the Chiefs just kept giving Josh Allen lanes to run in. It's like, how did that happen in this one? Because they didn't have the QB spy at times, but they did go out there and blitz. And to Buffalo's credit, they did a much better job of picking up the blitz. Okay, I see your comment, Acheron. I know a lot of people have been saying this as well in the comments tonight. A lot of people are talking about how the Chiefs need to get Donovan Smith back. Can someone please tell me what the obsession is with Donovan Smith? I mean, how big of an upgrade is Donovan Smith over Wanya Morris? I'm forgetting about Kingsley. Kingsley was inactive in this one. But what is Donovan Smith going to do that Wanya Morris can't do? Okay, I get it. He has the veteran experience. But what is he going to do that Wanya isn't doing? Because Donovan Smith, though I will say Smith did get better when he came back from injury in the playoffs. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, Smith hasn't been playing all year. He's a free agent. He'll be fresh coming off the couch. Okay, but what is he going to do coming off the couch? I'm sure he's in shape, but is he in football shape? Being in shape and being in football shape, those are two different things. Two completely different things. So I don't really understand the obsession with wanting Donovan Smith back. I will say I think Donovan Smith is an upgrade over Kingsley Suamataia. Now, define upgrade in this context here, because I don't know what that really does for your football team. And listen, I know some people are going to say, well, if you bring him back, that's not good for Kingsley's confidence. Listen, I'm not worried about Kingsley's confidence. That's not something I care about. I don't care about it. When you have a franchise quarterback who's constantly getting chased around, getting beat, getting taken down, screw anyone else's confidence. You got to toughen up and understand this is the NFL. And when you have the best quarterback in the NFL, you maybe not this year statistically, but there's no doubt that a lot of people would still take Mahomes in any fantasy draft. You've got to protect the guy. And I don't know. Listen, maybe Kingsley, his time in Kansas City is going to be very short-lived. Maybe they'll give him another opportunity in the future. I don't know. But what I do know is they don't have time to experiment with anyone that just isn't getting it, regardless of experience. Wanya Morris, I mean, he's really not it. Jawan Taylor, he's kind of having up and down games. He wasn't really playing too bad the last couple of weeks. But this game, these last two games against Denver and their great front defense, and Buffalo, they've got a good front unit. They both did a really good job of trapping Mahomes and limiting him. And that's something Kansas City needs to be better about. What are the Chiefs going to do about that in the future? I'm really curious to see. So at the end of the day, this is a football team that has some things to work on, but they're still 9-1. By the way, I don't see anyone calling in. So if you haven't done so already, we'll put the link out there again. Feel free to call in and give me your thoughts on the game. Eric says your playoff run will be short-lived. Yeah, I heard that last year a lot. Too. I think we all know how that panned out. Listen, I know a lot of people are mentioning L'Jarius Sneed. Listen, I miss L'Jarius Sneed too. I'm a huge fan of L'Jarius Sneed, and he was clutch for the Chiefs last year in the postseason. But I don't know if Sneed was going to be that big of a difference maker with what Allen was doing in this game. I still think your pass rush was very weak. Now, by the way, there were comments earlier about Nazeeh Johnson, and I went over this at halftime. I'm kind of done with the Nazeeh Johnson experiment at this point. He's been around a couple of years. He's dealt with injuries, dealt with an injury this year, and he just has not been good when he's been on the field. Amari Cooper got the best of him. I know he only had 2 catches, but those were 2 big catches. Khalil Shakir, 8 catches, 70 yards. Curtis Samuel, number 1. This is not a guy we really spent a lot of time talking about this week on the podcast. Curtis Samuel, it just seemed like he was open the entire time. And I know the refs missed a pick play there, offensive pass interference, but listen, missed calls are going to happen. I've said that millions of times, so I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. Funny enough, the people who complain about officiating that goes in favor of the Chiefs, they're going to be very silent on that for sure. Funny how that all works. But regardless, you guys know me. I'm going to stay consistent with this. Samuel was open all day today. All day. It just felt like Allen had an invisible string between him and Samuel, because as soon as he got open, those two were not going to fail on a connection. Not at all. That was discouraging to see. Allen missed on a couple of opportunities too. He had open guys down the field and just wasn't able to hit the targets at times, and the Chiefs still could not capitalize on those mistakes there. The Bills made some mistakes, but the Chiefs made more mistakes in this game. And I mentioned before, that is going to be the difference maker in this game. So at the end of the day, if you're going to try to come away with a win, you can't be making a lot of those mistakes here. Kansas City's got to be more aggressive. It just felt like the offense could never really get into a rhythm. And I know Bob mentioned that earlier. There was no tempo. There was no speed. They just weren't doing anything to get going. And I think that was probably the most frustrating part about this game, offensively speaking, is you just weren't able to get into that. And I'm not going to pinpoint that on one thing, but I will say the number one reason for the top reason for that is the offensive tackle play. I mean, that's been hurting Patrick Mahomes in this Chiefs offense. The Chiefs have not had a good offensive tackle for 3 seasons now. This season, last year, and the year before. Now, even though the Chiefs have had the 4 worst offensive tackles the last 2 years, they've still won the Super Bowl. That's not the most ideal way to go and win a Super Bowl, though. Not at all. And I think you saw Tony Romo and Jim Nantz, they mentioned this. They're out there putting tight ends right next to the offensive tackles, trying to get them some help. I've been calling for this for a very long time. I said that in that Bengals game, Trey Hendrickson, who was almost a massive difference maker. I'm saying almost because the Bengals did not win that game. But I said, Trey Hendrickson, you got to have a guy to help Kingsley Suamataia. And the Chiefs, for whatever reason, decided not to do that. And instead, their idea was, let's switch left tackles, which, I mean, Wanye, again, was not as bad as Kingsley, but still bad. My point is, you just don't have the 2 good offensive tackles, and that's been Kansas City's biggest weakness, not just this year, for 3 seasons now. Now, again, mind you, they've still won the Super Bowl every year. But I'd like to see the Chiefs do something. If you're in the camp that's saying, hey, let's just give Donovan Smith an opportunity, fine. I can get behind that, because you do need to try something. And right now, you've got to protect Patrick Mahomes. That's the number one key here. Any defense out there, if they can go out there and do what the Bills did in this game, or do what the Broncos did in last week's game, if you can surround Mahomes and build that barrier and not let him escape, you're going to win some football games. I think that's a big reason why the Chiefs lost this game. Offensive tackle play, allowing the defensive ends, the edge rushers, to create that big circle, and Mahomes can't escape that pocket. That is frustrating and discouraging. You definitely need to be better about that. Let me look at the Instagram comments here, showing some love to all of you over at the Gram. Judoka_Mora8 says, we had a weak pass rush today, and the field was wide open for Bills receivers all game long. Yep, I agree with that. And I did say earlier, credit to Buffalo's offensive line. They did a great job picking up the blitz. It did rattle Allen at times, but more times than not, the Chiefs were not able to get to Allen. Wiblin says, how do you feel about signing Donovan Smith? We just went over that. Blevins Lenny says the 1-2 punch of Pacheco and Hunt will be really nice. Yes. And I'm hoping that can really help alleviate a lot of things for this offense here. I will say this about Kingsley Suamataia. Yeah, he's not a good pass blocker. He's a terrible pass blocker, but I like his run blocking. I know that has not been noticed a lot by a lot of people. It doesn't get talked about at all because there are other things, more pressing things with him. But if the Chiefs were to make him active, I would not mind seeing Kingsley put in there in some run blocking situations. We saw him do some of those things in training camp, and the run blocking has carried over to the regular season, but we haven't seen much of it because he got yanked in week 2, and we haven't seen much of him. Nick23 says, Worthy had a good game today. He did, but that was really okay. I'll say this. By the way, Nick, you're asking where can you join to call in? Can I put the link in Instagram? Let me try. There. I just commented with the link on Instagram. I don't know if it's going to allow you to click it. Hopefully it does. Click that, call in, and just turn on your audio, your video, put in your name, and hopefully we can get you on. Knowing how much Allen was running, we should have kept an eye on him. I mean, it was either that or blitz. And unfortunately on the blitz, the Chiefs were getting stopped there. And like I said, gotta give praise to Buffalo for being able to pick that up because Kansas City was not doing a good job. At this point, I'll take Willie Ruff out of retirement at left tackle. Yeah, I would too over Wanye and Kingsley. That's how bad it's been. Okay, I'll go back to the Facebook and YouTube comments. Let's see here. You guys played like y'all all had the flu. Wake the F up, Chiefs. Frank's happy. Charlie says, think we should have kept Orlando Brown. No. Did you see Orlando Brown last year? He led the NFL in quarterback pressures allowed. He's allowed the NFL. He's been the league leader in QB pressures allowed 2 years in a row. Spoiler alert. I think you guys already know this, but in case anyone doesn't, that is not a category you want to lead the NFL in. That is not a category you want to. And now he's injured too. So he's been missing some games. So yeah, they overpaid. Orlando Brown was asking too much money. And crazy enough, the Chiefs were actually willing to pay him a 6-year, $120-some million deal. I criticized the hell out of Brett Veach for that offer. Thank God he turned that down. But if you're gonna compare Orlando Brown to Wanye Morris or Kingsley or Andrew Wiley, I mean they're all bad. They're all bad. There's really no difference. Like if you covered up the jerseys and you had Orlando and all those other guys, you would not notice a difference. Yeah, Noah Gray's been playing really good all season, actually, Chase. I've been happy with his production this year. You know, he's a backup tight end. So, yeah. Kirk, has a good point. This guy's not falling. Never expected 9-1 after seeing the schedule. Yeah. And by the way, let's not mention, I mean, it's not like the Chiefs were playing cupcake teams. The first 2 games, and I know the Bengals record is not that good, but there's still a lot of people talking about how the Bengals can make a turnaround and get to the playoffs. Right now, I mean, I'm not going to say that's your best win of the season. Yeah, sure, there's a rivalry there with that game. But at the end of the day, that's an offense that's been lighting it up. You beat the Ravens, whether it was by a toe or 10 million toes. You still beat the Ravens earlier in the season. Beat the Broncos. That's a team that's right now in the playoff picture. You beat the Chargers on the road earlier this year. So it's not like the Chiefs haven't beaten anybody. They're certainly out there getting some valuable wins on the season. This would have been a really big one, but not the case. Let's see. Their strength of victory was 483 and 355. It's dropped to 473. Buffalo's strength of victory jumped up to 430. But the Chiefs still 9-1. They are right now still the leaders in the AFC. And because of the loss to Buffalo, very little room for error. And that game against Pittsburgh, that does become a very important game. I know Buffalo's going into the bye week. So just to kind of look at the schedule for Buffalo, they've got San Francisco out of the bye week, and that's going to be on December the 1st. And San Francisco's just been a train wreck this year. Then they have the Rams. They have the Lions on the road. That is going to be a really good game. In fact, I would not be shocked if that gets flexed to Sunday Night Football. It should be, in fact. And then the last 3 games, Buffalo's got 3 very winnable games. New England twice in week 16 and in week 18. And they have the Jets in week 17. So the only really difficult game Buffalo has is that Detroit game. They can easily finish the season 5-1. And if you're Kansas City, you got to essentially win out to prevent that tiebreaker. Yeah, Kelce was pretty quiet. Yeah, you look at his stat line today. He only had 2 catches for 8 yards. Got to be better than that. Kelce's had a really inconsistent season. He played much better the last 5-6 games compared to the first 3 games. But man, he kind of went back to being quiet, Travis Kelce, today. And then, listen, I'm not expecting Kelce to go off and have a big game every single week, but you still want better production, better than 2 catches for 8 yards for sure. When Noah Gray, your backup, had 4 for 23 and 2 touchdowns, which, not bad for a backup, you don't want that to be your best tight end production. So the Chiefs, they've got a lot of things to work on here. Third down, they were 5 of 10, 50%. Bills 9 of 15 in this one. I mean, that is a really damn good third down efficiency right there for sure. The Bills had a really balanced pass attack or offensive attack here. 13 first downs from passing, 9 from rushing. And by the way, I know the Chiefs defense came up big even when they were gassed out. They came up big against James Cook. 9 rushes, held him to 20 yards, but he got those 2 rushing touchdowns in the red zone. James Cook, he's one of the best. He's top 5 in the NFL in red zone touchdowns. So even though he was held to 20 yards, he definitely got what he needed to get the Bills the points they needed. He was responsible for almost half the points Buffalo had in this game here. And Josh Allen went in there and got 1 more on the ground, and that might have been his best play of the game on 4th and 2. Letting the Chiefs defense kind of look around and wait for a moment. And when the Chiefs defense least expected it, he took off, and it was full steam ahead. Did not get stopped. He was refusing to go down, and that was rough. That was rough to watch. First time in 30 games, the Chiefs allowed 28 or more points. You knew that was going to come to an end at some point. 15-game winning streak. That came to an end at some point. They're still 9-1 at the end of the day. Yeah, the third down penalty on Shamari Connor, that was bad. I mean, listen, Shamari Connor, great interception, and that kind of felt like a turning point. I mean, Buffalo, their offense was not really the same for a while. Now, they eventually got going. Coincidentally, it was Shamari Connor, the guy who committed that penalty, that really gave the Bills the spark it needed to start moving. So, got to figure it out. Got to figure it out if you're Kansas City. A lot of things to look around. Still 9-1. And Jim Nantz said this during the pregame show. Kansas City does have a favorable schedule here. I know that they were saying that if the Chiefs won, they could go 17-0. No, obviously not the case now, but still, even with a 9-1 record, when you look at Kansas City's schedule for the remainder of the season, you have the Panthers. You've got the Raiders on Black Friday. That's a team that the Raiders look like they've punted on the season from week 1. You got the Chargers on Sunday night. That's going to be a tough one. But then you've got the Browns. You got the Texans, who are kind of on a decline right now. They have not played their best football lately. And I believe Houston is on a bye week this week. Just looking around real quickly. Yeah, I don't believe Houston's playing this week. They have not looked good lately. You've got Pittsburgh on Christmas. That is going to be by far the toughest game of the year. And then week 18, if you do not have the number 1 seed locked up, that is going to be that essentially is going to feel like a playoff game, because Denver right now, they are in the playoff picture, but they right now have the number 7 seed, and they've got the Colts on their tail. The Dolphins are starting to catch up a little bit, and if the Bengals win tonight, which the game just got underway, they're going to be right on their tail. So Denver is going to be looking to do everything it can to stay ahead and keep one of those wild card spots. With a loss today, I mean, Baltimore, I think, is a lock for one of the wild card spots. The Chargers, they're 6-3. They look like they're definitely going to be a wild card team. That number 7 seed, I think, is the one that's wide open right now in the AFC, between Denver, who right now holds the number 7 seed, Indianapolis, Miami, and Cincinnati right behind them. After that, you got the Jets, the Patriots, Browns, Titans, Raiders, Jaguars. Obviously, I mean, their seasons are all over. So that is my point is with the Broncos, that week 18 game, that's going to feel like a playoff game, because the Chiefs are going to be fighting to maybe get that number 1 seed, and Denver is probably going to be fighting to get a playoff spot. Depending, obviously, a lot can happen between now and week 18, but that is a situation right now. Yeah, if the Bengals do beat the Chargers tonight, maybe you have 2 spots that could be more open than you would anticipate. The thing with the Bengals is they have not beaten a team with a winning record. So I'm really curious how they play today, but we'll find out shortly. Okay, Chiefs lose today. It's their first loss of the season. Not the end of the world. Still 9-1. Still tied for the best record in the NFL. Still with the best record in the AFC, but that means you have little room for error moving forward for the remainder of the season. All right, I'm going to get out of here, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning into the podcast, being a part of this podcast. If you guys want to, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@thechiefzone. We're all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, all those places. Blue Sky. Yeah, Blue Sky. That's a thing now. Blue Sky. As if we need more social media. We're everywhere. So make sure you guys are following me on all of those social media websites. Chiefs lose this one. First loss of the season, still atop the AFC. We'll have a podcast tomorrow. We're also going to do the Chiefs Zone podcast on Wednesday, and we will have the Red Friday live chat this Red Friday. So make sure you guys tune in to that. My name is Farzin Vousoughian. Thank you all again for tuning into this episode. For those of you who listen to the archive version or downloaded the podcast off Apple and Spotify, appreciate you guys as well. Just one loss. Just one loss. The Chiefs will get back at it this week. All right, guys. Enjoy Sunday Night Football. I'm out. Talk to y'all later.